Truthful Saturdays. Sometimes, y'all, being in the autism community is stressful. So, I told y'all about 2 Saturdays ago what happened towards the end of the school year for Andre when he was in elementary school, when he had a serious tantrum that ended him being transported to Cook's Children's in Fort Worth. So, unbeknown to me, a few days ago, I got a piece of paper saying that his request for psychiatric evaluation has been denied for 11 hours, but approved for 8 hours. So I was like, okay, broke best friend is up, y'all. I was like, okay, what does this mean? Like, number one, I didn't request for no psychiatric evaluation. Like, he's already been evaluated by his school. Like, he's already autistic. What are you talking about? So, of course, I called them. I followed up, and the school diagnosis is different than what I'm gonna call real world diagnosis. So when Andre, I'm not gonna say child. So when Andre was he was diagnosed at the age of 8 by the school. So he was diagnosed by the school in order for him to get an IEP, which is Individual Education Plan. Also, in order for him to get a 504, which a 504 plan is accommodations that each teacher has to follow in the classrooms to help him be successful. I like to say be a good neighbor. And for him to also be in, it's called C's class, which is special education. But all this falls under the umbrella of special education. So in order for him to get all of these resources, basically everything to help prevent him from being kicked out of another school and prevent him from being held back, he was diagnosed by the school to qualify for special educational services by the school. So I wanted, and I have him for Medicaid. So I wanted to get him more therapy. I wanted to get him more coping skills, stuff, that they was doing at the school, but to also help him get along with not only his family, but friends, his siblings. And also I wanted stuff to help me as well. And in order for me to even get ABA therapy, which is a specific like behavioral therapy for them, in order for me to get the therapy, in order for me to get like additional coping skills, like just a regular therapist, not even an ABA therapist, which ABA therapy is what I would advise more. ABA therapists are more knowledgeable in autism spectrum, so they would benefit you more than just a regular therapist. But if you're struggling with accepting the diagnosis and you're struggling with like that bridge between yourself, then I would advise regular therapy for you, the parent, but still ABA therapy for your child. It's starting to hurt my neck, y'all. So in order for me to get that, and he had to be diagnosed by a psychiatrist. But in order so I was like, okay, who needs a diagnosis? So it's like psychiatrist does a diagnosis. Psychologist is the one that like gives the medication or like a more deep reading on it and stuff like that. But in order for you to be seen by a psychiatrist or a psychologist, you have to be recommended. So in order for you to be recommended to even be seen by one of them, it has to come from your child's PCP, which is a primary care provider. But in order for it to even come from the primary care provider, your child has to be exhibiting symptoms, or not even symptoms, but they have to be exhibiting something that say, okay, they're on an autism spectrum disorder. So all that to say, even with him being on Medicaid, it's still, the copay is almost $1,000 for him to be seen, for him to get a diagnosis, for him to get therapy to help him in real world. It's free for the school, but that's only for the school. That's only academic wise. So I put him under my insurance at work, and he got ABA therapy free, but only 9 sessions. And if I want to continue the sessions out of pocket, it's about 100 to 200. So I said, okay, well, how can I get it for free? It has to be recommended by the psychologist or the psychiatrist, and then send it to the insurance, and then the insurance might be able to cover it 100%. So I was like, okay. So then after that, I was like, well, let me see if I can go through the psychiatrist with him being under my own insurance. Went through $602. I was like, okay. And it's a waiting list. So $602 for the copay, and the waiting list is almost 14 to 18 months. So he has all of this great stuff, all of this stuff academic wise and everything like that. But in order for me to get the other piece to make sure that my son is covered in a whole, not only do I have to come out of pocket almost $1,000, and it's just for the psychiatrist. So if I wanted to get a more in-depth and go to a psychologist, I got to pay for that out of pocket as well. Just to get a full educational understanding, because you can read books, you can do research, all of that. But still, to me, it's still different than going to a person that has went through the schooling, the case studies, because it's certain things that you can't get by just doing research. It's certain things that you actually need to speak with the person that actually went through all the accolades for it, because they've seen it. They did practices in it. They had to do clinicals and everything, so they can actually tell you live scenarios, stuff that you can't get on the internet. Not only that, how do you know it's not fabricated? So not only now I'm walking through that. So I thought it was all fine and dandy, y'all. I was like, my son was diagnosed by the school, living it up. He is good, da da da. But now that he's transitioned into middle school, a lot of that stuff that he was getting in elementary has fallen off, because now we're starting to gear towards more independency. And because of my lack of not knowing that he was going to get certain therapies and everything that I would have to either come out of pocket for or see if insurance will carry for. Now, not that I feel like my son is behind, but now it's making me upset, because this is stuff that they could have told me in his 4th grade ARD, which ARD meeting is where all of you come together, make sure you're on the same page, annual development plan for the district. So, like, y'all could have told me this stuff. It's something that y'all could have prepared me for. It's something that you could have let me know. But I'm not going to put it so much on the school, because I know they're like, okay, what if we overwhelmed her? What if, we're stepping a boundary for parenting and everything like that? But I don't care. I don't care. Give me the information, and then let me deal with that emotion. Let me go to therapy. Let me deal with it. No. I want you to think about my son. I don't want you to think about my reaction. I don't want you to think about how I'm going to feel. None of that. I'm going to need you to throw that all to the side. Let's focus on Andre. Let's focus on him being a good neighbor. Let's focus on him being able to go into the world and keep a job without being fired or feeling alone. Or let's focus on him being able to leave my house and not come back, being able to be independent, being able to count his money. I fear for him. And I'm going to try not to cry, but I fear for him. And that's one of the hardest things in being a mother, because you want to be there every step. You want to hold his hand, but how is he going to grow from it? How is he going to know if he doesn't get all of these skills early on? He's about to turn 12, y'all, in February. He's about to hit teenage years. We're about to have to deal with puberty. We're about to deal with a whole additional hormones. And with my son, not I feel like having all of the additional therapy and coping and everything that he needs, he doesn't even know about puberty. So Mommy. It's just Truthful Saturdays. Mommy. Broke best friend, now let me have my moment. But Mommy. Thank y'all for coming through this journey with me. I just had to vent for y'all because not only am I exhausted, but yeah, I feel some type of way. No, now you're quiet.